Hey, it's your boy Solo. Today, I'll be going over how to take apart, tear down, and clean an antminer Z9 Mini. It has a little bit of a fan problem, and we're just gonna clean it and see if it'll just start working. But I'll go over how to take it apart and how to clean it. Alright, let's get started. First thing that I'm gonna do is I'm gonna unplug all of these things so that I don't mess up anything. So I'm gonna start with the fan. It's a little hard to get out here. It just pops out. It's a connector. These ones here are a little tricky too. I always start with the middle one because I find it easier to get it out of the way. And then once it's out of the way, I can pull out these ones here really easily. Try to be careful with them. Don't be too hard on them. These are really hard to get out. You might need a pair of needle nose pliers. Okay, all the cables are removed, so make sure we're not going to break any of this here stuff. Okay, now this is fairly simple. If you're only cleaning the back, there's only 4 screws. So we'll just take these here 4 out. There's only 3 in this one here, it's missing 1. That might happen due to vibration. Sometimes you might lose a screw, so you have to make sure that you tighten them in fairly good. It vibrates a little bit, so it might shake some of these here screws loose if you don't tighten them up quite good enough. Alright, now this here back plate just removes like this. Now these are very easy. They do have a little clip right here in each one that you can pick it up just a tiny bit and then slide it forward. So from here, if you just try and pull it out, sometimes it'll catch on this here thing, but just pick it up just a tiny bit and then slide it out. And we'll set it down like this. Okay, I'm just going to slide these ones here out. Try to be careful with them, you don't want to bang nothing loose. And remember what order you put them in. I suggest taking them out in the order that they go back in. Okay, now these here don't look actually too bad. So, that being said, those aren't too bad. Now what we'll do is we'll take the fan off. It's the same thing in the front. It's just 4 screws, a protector for the fan, because these here will cut your fingers off. So we'll just take out these here 4 screws. Pretty self-explanatory. And just one more. Alright, now we're going to set this here down like this. So that we're going to set it down exactly like this. So we know the wires point towards the machine. That's where they come out of. This is on the front. We want to leave this like this so that we don't have to remember how to put it together. And we'll put that over here. Alright, now the last little piece is this little board. And these little 2 clips right here. Let's see if I can get this here up for you. So there's 2 little clips here. These here spread apart. And this here board just pushes right out. I just pushed on the Ethernet on the front. And then you just slide the board out. Just like that. There you go. You have access to the whole thing. It's just the body. There's the PCB. This is very easy to put back in. This one here looks like it was burnt a little bit. You can't quite see it, but there's some dark patches. There you go. That stuff, that's all burnt. That got too hot by the looks of it. And after this here point, we're just going to set this aside. Now the best way to clean this here, if the dirt is matted on really hard, is to use a very fine, very light paintbrush that doesn't have anything hard that can catch, because if you rip a transistor off or any of these little tiny things right here, you'll break the board. But a paintbrush, you just want to go over it just very lightly. Only if it's thick. If it's not very thick, just grab a good old can of air buster and, sorry for your ears, and there you go. It's ready to put back together. It's the same with the other pieces here. These here pieces are a little bit more delicate, as the stuff on the back, if you knock any of these here off with a paintbrush, you're done for. That's it. But this is where the dirt actually cakes up and sticks to the most. So lightly brushing it a few times like this here, and giving it a little bit of blow, like there's a little bit of dust right here that's really hard to get off. Just give it a little sweep with the paintbrush. Don't be too hard or you will break stuff off, and try and hang on to edges or the heat sinks. Those are the best things. And the heat sinks, you can use the paintbrush to get as clean as possible. Now there's little spaces in here where the dirt can get. I just suggest using some canned air and that's it. If it looks clean after that, you're all set to put it back together. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna fast forward, we're gonna clean all this here stuff, and then we'll be done. Why I use the paintbrush on the fan really aggressively is because it knocks off any dust that might be caked on really hard, and it takes it right off. And then same thing, give it a little bit of blowout, and there we go, we're done. Now all we need to do is assemble it. You want to make sure that you clean this here out a little bit. The same way you might want to wet it, cloth it out, and let it dry before you use it. This one here is not too dirty. I'm just gonna give it a little blowout, and then we'll start putting it back together. What we're gonna do is we're gonna start with this here piece first, with this board, and just slide it right in. It's a little hard to get in because these here things got to be bent out at the same time. So I need both hands for this, and just slide it in. Make sure it goes right in the slots though. There we go. Make sure the front's in here. Sometimes you have to wiggle it and push it in a little bit because it's a tight fit. So there we go. Now, we turn it like this, and we know that this here board goes in here. And when it gets to here, if it gets stuck, you just need to lift it up a tiny bit and push it in. So when it gets to here, just lift it up and then push it in. Done. Alright, I'm just going to put these ones here in. Alright, now what we're going to do is we're going to go in this order first. We're going to put this here slide on first, so that when we tip it this here way, the boards don't fall out. So you want to make sure that you put it back together a little bit different than you took it apart. You want to make sure that you put this here on first, so that when you shift it, you don't accidentally lose one of these boards out. They're pretty delicate, and breaking them would not be something that you want. I don't think you can even replace these boards now from the manufacturer. You have to buy them at a third party, so getting them will be quite expensive. Right, we're just going to put these screws back in. Make sure you snug them up nice and tight. Like I was saying before, vibrations do make things come fairly loose, fairly easy. So you could lose screws if you don't tighten them in quite as good as you should. So make sure you give them a good tighten. And same as you don't want to take them apart too often because you'll wear out the threads. This is aluminum, so it's soft metal, and every single time you over tighten these here screws, it strips it a little bit, and you might end up having to use a different size of screw, or you might end up losing the back plate altogether. Alright, the last piece what we have to do is get this here fan on now. We want to make sure that we turn it like this. Fan on the front, wires on the top. These wires facing in, the back facing in. And we're just going to set this right like this. This is the easiest way to do it, and we'll just drop all the screws down through. Alright, we're just going to tighten these in. Same as the back, you want to make sure that these here snug up quite good because the vibration of this here fan will jiggle them a little bit loose, and you'll get vibrations over time, which is not good for anything. Vibrations aren't good. So tighten these in pretty good. Don't over tighten them because you will strip the aluminum. Alright, the last thing we need to do is just plug everything in. So we're going to start by plugging this fan into the fan header 1. And then we're going to start by plugging these here in one at a time. Another thing is to make sure that you plug these in here 1 to 4. On some miners, these here older ones with the older software, the 4 doesn't actually work. So if you plug one into there, it won't even show up and you might have an error. Some of them do though, some boards, newer ones and the older ones are a little different. So I've had different ones with different issues. Make sure you plug them in a row, 1 to 3 should be plugged into the boards. But that's all there is to it. Now all you need to do is plug it in, turn it on, see if you get a little bit better performance. It'll be a lot better, so you won't have to worry about it heating up quite as much. That should change it a little bit, or even just making sure that it runs healthier for longer. Keeping it clean is a good idea. But that's everything there is to it. If you have any comments, questions, or concerns, or anything you think I might have left out, definitely leave something in the description below. But if you like or found this video helpful, hit the thumbs up and get subscribed for more content. Thanks for watching, guys.